Good morning. I'll try to answer the question, is Zelensky a freedom fighter? I'm very surprised that the side that propagates Illuminist knowledge called him that way, and even a real David fighting with Goliath. It is about sapientia et veritas. This is the channel that I recommended and from which I will continue to select what is consonant with Pythagorean Illuminism, but what is obvious in contrast with Illuminism, I will combat with arguments, as in the present case, with the express reference to the episode. I'll give the link in the first comment. A Google search for Sapientia et Veritas leads us to an organization with multiple objectives, whose connection with the Illuminism is vague. Not coincidentally, in response to a comment of mine, someone, maybe an administrator, who called himself God Equation, said that Illuminism is dead and I should not resurrect it. The reference to God Equation takes us to Michio Kaku, not to Euler's God formula that we appreciate at large. I answered that Illuminism is an idea, thought, in the mental domain, therefore immortal. I would not like to have to deal with the new Morgue case again, which is inspired from the Illuminism, but with a different purpose. Regarding Zelensky, let's move on to the arguments. Absolutely all current leaders are puppets in the hands of puppeteers that no one knows outside their circle. However, does not understand that falls in one mistakes of the ignorant and mediocre of discussing people and events without understanding the undersides. So, both Trump and company and Zelensky are at the orders of others. They do what a certain agenda designed many years in advance. The puppeteers, the old world order, are having a lot of fun simulating a contrast between its two arms, the woke neoliberals and the far right. In this way, the herd is trapped in a false contrast so as not to understand who the real enemies are. Don't you think so? Well, both camps are protectors of privileged elites and capitalist globalism. The only difference is in the religious plan. Some are followers of scientism and others of the major religions. Without a doubt, the leaders are, as Ben said, narcissists. Otherwise, they wouldn't have a grip on the herd with their show, because even the event of the Oval Office was directed. But this is an issue true for all the leaders of the current world. Otherwise, they wouldn't be leaders. We live on a ship of fools, and we shouldn't be surprised. Healthy people are being thrown overboard. Zelensky became president promising interactive peace, undermined following the color revolution provoked by the West through the hands of Victoria Nuland and company, with the aim to further expanding NATO to the east, despite the previous agreement not to allow such a thing to happen. As soon as he became president, he forgot this promise, undoubtedly under pressure from the West, which urgently sent Boris Johnson to cancel the Minsk agreements, which provided for satisfying Russia's demands regarding the relative autonomy of its own ethnic groups. 30% of the Ukrainian population, while ensuring the territorial integrity of Ukraine. I mentioned that the ethnic prosecution concerned not only Russians, but also Hungarians, Slovak, Polish, and Romanian ethnic groups, integrated with their ancestral territories into Soviet Ukraine by the Ukrainian Bolshevik Nikita Khrushchev. Isn't it strange that Ukrainian nationalists declare themselves anti-communist, but enjoy the benefits they have from them? Ethnic cleansing then became exponentially more pronounced, and the path opened around the Second World War by the Nazi Bandera, who became today a national hero, despite the genocide of ethnic Poles, Slovaks, Hungarians, Romanians, and Russians. Majority languages were banned, schools and churches were closed, minorities were forcibly coalesced for the war against the ethnic Russian citizen from the two eastern provinces of Donetsk and Lugansk, with the majority Russian population, who did not accept the consequences of the colored revolution in 2014. No one in the West is talking today about the massacre of Russo Russophiles in Odessa. And it is not hard to understand why. All through very late, Putin started a special operation in 2022 to defend the Russians in all the regions that are mostly pro-Russian. The war has been going for 3 years, and there are hundreds of thousands of deaths on both sides. Cui bono if some Slavs are killing each other? Of course, the same ones who caused the wars in Yugoslavia, that is, the West. If such an evolution can cause someone who is inspired by Illuminism to consider this leader a freedom fighter or a David fighting Goliath, we have a big problem. Let's not forget that David had hundreds of billions of dollars in weapons from those who caused the conflict. So he wasn't really so small. The video says that Putin is a dictator, and I totally agree. But it's nothing new for Russia. What is not said is that dictatorship also means ethnic cleansing, censorship, mandatory experimental health treatments despite the Nuremberg Code, elimination of critical thinking in the name of materialist scientism, false climate dangers, population control, implementation of woke ideology, and so on. All promoted by woke neoliberals who thus feed the meal of the extreme right. Dictatorship is also the obsessive promotion of Russophobia in the media, education, economy, finance, trade, culture, art, sports. All through, what the Russians have done wrong is much less serious than what the West has done over the centuries to the detriment of dozens of nations. The far right is the declared enemy of the Illuminists. But all this manifestation of the woke neoliberals are also condemned by us. So, no representative of theirs can be considered a freedom fighter or David in battle with Goliath. All the materials published by this site are knowledge of the Pythagorean Illuminati, contained in over 200 books they wrote. But I draw attention to the fact that if an untruth is slipped in, everything becomes a lie. I believe that we are dealing with a new Morgue case in which some plagiaries seek to derail from the Pythagorean Illuminism. not by chance, probably administrator stated that Illuminism is dead and that I should not resurrect it. The same thing happened to me with More. In conclusion, Zelensky is a representative of the woke neoliberals, so that he cannot be considered a freedom fighter. That's all.